Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Jake Rowell here with my broadcast partner tonight, Brandon Domain, bringing you the Great Lakes 150 for Speed Racing Network's Xfinity Series, the final round, or the final race of round 2 tonight here at Michigan International Speedway. Brandon, man, what are you looking forward here tonight?
And, these cutoff races, it is all about just can you put yourself in that position to make it to the next round? Yes, it's great if you can get that checkered flag today here at Michigan, but it's all about advancing to that final race in Texas. We saw 6 do it last night in the Truck Series because of the ties. Should be 5 tonight unless we have that same situation. Just a lot of drama. That's what I'm looking forward to here at Michigan.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a good time. We got 75 laps. That means it's 150 miles. All of our drivers are going to have that one faster pair like you see on the screen. But, before we move on, obviously into tonight's race, why don't we go ahead and dive into, what our league is about here in each and every single week here at Speed Racing Network. We've got 20 races through the entire season. That means we are in the 19th week right now with only next week at Texas Motor Speedway left. Every single Xfinity car and every single other the 2 series we've got fixed setups. Again, one faster pair for the driver, so if they get involved in an accident, any sort of damage on their car, they're able to come down pit lane and get one kind of free pass, so to speak. And again, these guys are paying $10 a week to get their entry fees in. That is going to give them some weekly and season payouts, Brandon, that are pretty hefty here in the Xfinity series, like you see right there.
Yeah, that $500 first place championship prize for whoever comes out on top after next week, that is a big prize in itself. But we also have our $200 team championship. Top 5 in the season get paid out. And we also have our weekly payouts as well that we'll cover here in a little bit. But a lot of opportunities to make some good money here with SRN. And we take it up another notch even further with the Cup Series coming up on Sunday.
Definitely, it's the team championship is a really cool concept. You don't see that in many other leagues. So, even if you're a driver that's not inside the playoffs, going for that big first place driver, championship prize, you're still able to kind of put together a great season with the team, kind of rally the troops to go after that team championship.
Yeah, I mean, that team championship, we got it pretty well decided. Not going to say it is decided, but there's still stuff to run for if you are out of the playoffs. We got the Tier 2 championship. We got the team championship. A lot of reasons to stay involved in the league as we continue through the season, even as we eliminate drivers from the playoff.
Definitely. And before we go any further, we're going to go ahead and jump towards our segment this week with Speed Racing Network's Xfinity driver Daniel Ballard is going to be matching wits with Gerwitz. And here you are, folks.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen, with another week of matching wits with Gerwitz. This week we have the number 6 of Daniel Ballard. Daniel, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, man. How's it going?
Just another day, another week of preparing for Michigan tomorrow night, and just kind of go from there.
Yep.
But how did you guys do what is your team atmosphere like this year?
Well, it's kind of been all over the place. We started out with 5 guys, and I'm the only original one of the 5 left. But we had enough people between David Duke's teams that we ended up filling out the rest of the roster, and it's actually now just back down to me and Dylan again. So it's pretty easy atmosphere with just me and him. It's easy to bounce things off each other back and forth. So it's been good. It's been a little bit lonely at times, but it's been good.
It seems about what we went through with Rev Racing all year.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. But how does I know you race real life, how does that transfer over to running these Xfinity cars?
Well, a lot of what I do in real life doesn't transfer a whole lot, maybe a little bit of car control and stuff like that. But I don't know, just a competitive attitude or whatever you want to call that, I suppose, is the main thing. Just always wanting to do the best you can and come home with the W.
And you've actually done that, I think, once this year.
Yep.
You got one win at Atlanta and normal 1.5-mile track, which is actually the championship race.
Yep. In Texas, so far, I've been undefeated on in this league. So hopefully we can keep it that way this year. That'd be great.
Hopefully you can. I mean, and speaking of that, I mean, you're right in the final 5 right now. What needs to happen tomorrow for you to secure that spot?
Hopefully just a solid race. Nothing crazy or tragic happening, just take care of the car and have a solid night and hopefully move on to Texas. I hope we're fortunate enough to build up a little bit of a buffer for going into this final race of this stage. So it's a lot nicer than the end of the last stage where I had to squeak my way in by 1 point. So definitely feeling a little better.
Yeah, that last round was definitely intense for you.
Yeah, it was pretty tight.
I mean, now with our field shrinking, it's hard to make up those big points, but you did, and you find yourself in the top 10 and the points leader with a pretty good size lead over everyone. So I think if you just do a solid race now, you're in for sure. But I got one last question for you, and if you don't make the final 5, who do you think will go ahead and take home the championship this year?
If I don't make the final 5, man, I don't know. I think honestly, just the way they've been here the last few weeks, I think it comes down to Jovi and Rhett. And honestly, I mean, they're pretty evenly matched. I don't know Rhett very, very well as far as like on a personal basis or anything like that. I haven't had much of a chance to talk to him. He's a really good racer, very competitive. I've really enjoyed racing with him, he's been fun to race around and race with. But I don't know, I guess if I had to hope, I guess I'd hope that Jovi could pull it out because I've enjoyed racing with him and talking with him more lately, but both of them are going to be well deserving no matter who ends up with that. But, you never know, somebody else could sneak in there too and grab it,
That is very true. I mean, you got a few of those dark horses down there could sneak up, like a Bo Tiffany could sneak up 8 points and find their way in and go ahead and smoke everyone at Texas.
It takes one good night, man.
That's all it does. But thank you for coming on, Dan.
All right. Thank you, man.
You got it. Good luck tomorrow night, sir.
All right. You too.
And there you have it. That is going to be Daniel Ballard, who you'll see on track tonight in the number 6 car for R&D Motorsports with Matching Wits with Gurwitz. Again, another great segment, kind of bringing you in to get to know our drivers more on a personal level, kind of, see them since everything's virtual. You don't really get to, hear too much from some of these guys if they're not, getting pulled up to be interviewed post-race, and guys that are going to get post-race interviews are going to be your top 3. First place going to get $40 tonight. Second, $20, third, $10, and fourth place, Brandon, they make their money back here tonight.
That's always a good feeling. Not only do you get to get on the podium for a top 3 or close if you're in 4th, but getting that money back, you can put it forward to next week if you haven't already. If you have, you just get to pocket it, and that's not a bad feeling. Just kind of gives you a little bit extra boost there than the finish alone.
Definitely, and, what better way, like you said, you're able to put $10 into it. If you get 4th, you're able to walk home, put that towards the next week. So the money can keep advancing on, but some more money we give out. It's going to be brought to you by Griffith CPA Firm is our season payouts. First place, again, $500 to win the entire championship. So you almost, double your money and then some. Second place, $300. Third place, $200. Fourth, $150. And fifth place, $100. So that's half of the entire entry fee for the season if you come home in 5th. And then, if you're one of these guys 1st through 5th in the season championship driver standings, you could also win that team championship and split up with 4 or 5 guys. That's even more money in your pocket.
A whole lot of ways to make a little extra side cash here with the league. And, I mean, hey, you finished 3rd out of our championship 5. You're making your money back from the season payout alone that you had for all your entry fees this season. That's not even counting those weekly winnings. And if you're in the top 5, you advance to Texas with a shot at the title. You probably picked up some of those as well. So, nice little payout structure that we got here. I say it most every week, but it really is part of why SRN is one of the premier leagues out in iRacing.
Absolutely. And that's the great thing of it. Everything SRN gets is another sponsor here, obviously. Butt Kicker, we're giving away a Butt Kicker. You add it onto your sim rig, kind of adds another dimension to it. It's going to be going to the cleanest driver, the Clean Driver Award, which is given to the driver with the least amount of incident points per lap. And again, if you aren't fortunate enough to win it this season, you can go on to their website, purchase one. Make sure you use our discount code there at the bottom of the screen. It's going to be SRNVS20. That'll save you 20% off your order.
Yeah, 20% off on that, just to something that gets to add a little bit more to the experience of the sim racing. Just attach that to the seat, whether it's a desk chair, gaming chair, or you actually have a built-out rig. Just kind of gives you that little bit more of a feel for what's going on the track while you're racing. So just helps you out a little bit more.
Definitely, it really, really does. And something else that can help you out a lot. We've heard a lot of guys that have used the Kane Cook coaching sessions. Kane's in the Coca-Cola series on iRacing, so he's one of the premier drivers on the entire platform. So this guy knows what he's doing. Obviously, you see these different labelings here. His iRating's over 7,400. He's also known for being a hard charger, which is given out at the end of every official iRacing race. It's for the guy that gains the most positions from his starting spot on the track. So this guy knows how to work his way through the field and get really good finishes. That means he knows what he's doing here on iRacing. So if you go to our website, speedracingnetwork.com, you can book a session for Kane for yourself, duo sessions with him, or even if you got a team like any of our teams here in Speed Racing Network, or even if you're outside of SRN, you can go ahead, book a session for them. And, there's a lot to learn from someone like Kane.
Yeah, and this is, in our league for the XFINITY series, you're looking at an average of about 2,500 on an iRating, and that's pretty high quality for what you would see. I would say the average is probably around that 1,500, with a good benchmark being 2,000. Kane's sitting there at 7,400. That tells you a whole lot about how good he is and the experience he can pass along.
Definitely, and some guys that have been knowing what they're doing all season long here with the Tropical Smoothie Team Championships. You got Bronco Motorsports on top. They're up by 224 points over Tank Racing. Bronco's got 6 wins on the year. Got to imagine that's obviously why they've got such a big lead, with Tank only having 3 of them and being over 200 points behind. And then you got 3rd through 6, who obviously mathematically it's impossible for them to win this thing with Roel Smith Racing, even though they've had 4 years. It's just it shows you the importance of why you want to run consistently each and every week. And you can see what, that's obviously why these teams, are mathematically out of this.
Yeah, and from probably about mid-season on, it was really a 3-horse race, with your team, Roel Smith Racing, being in the mix as well. And right now, Bronco really just one good performance away, whether it be tonight or next week, from sealing that team title.
Definitely, and here we go. This is going to be our second tier playoff, which is brought to you by Flavor Bomb. Make sure you check them out on their website there, fbbq.com. They've got great stuff for any sort of cooking, grilling you would need. But here you go. I mean, these are guys that were unable to make the top playoff bracket, and now they're here, having a chance to come out here each and every week of the playoffs and have their own playoff battle with the rest of the guys that missed the top 15 playoff. You see Nick going on top by 37 points from Bronco Motorsports. Then you got some guys a little bit lower here, obviously, that, they're just trying to run Nick down. I mean, Nick's won the last 2 races we've been to with Circuit of the Americas and then last week at Charlotte. So, it makes you wonder, Nick had some personal stuff come up, which is why he was, he missed some races before the playoffs started. So this guy could have made a deep run here in these actual playoffs.
Oh, he's putting everybody on notice for next season as well with this performance that he's put on. He was a threat for a couple wins earlier in the season, wasn't able to seal that up. But in the last 2 weeks, 2 for 2, getting the win at Coda, getting the win last week at Charlotte. Wouldn't be surprised to see him get a 3rd straight here tonight and continue to keep playoff drivers from winning races.
Definitely, and those playoff drivers are going to be on your screen right there. We got first is tied right now with Daniel Ballard and Jovi Sagiped tied for first. And you got 3rd place Rhett Tucker, Gregory Joyner's in 4th, and then Aaron Gurwitz is right on that line, the cut line. He's only 1 point ahead of Dylan Patterson. So at the end of the race, it's going to be the difference of either one position or, if you lead a lap, that's a bonus point. So this math right here is going to be something we're going to have to keep our eye on all race long here at Michigan International Speedway. It's going to fluctuate, I think, every time we come around the start-finish line.
Yeah, and you keep your eye on Joyner and Gurwitz and how close they are, being only, a handful of points away from being out of it. But even if you're Daniel Ballard, Jovi Sagipet, or Rhett Tucker, I mean, you're not that far ahead of that cut line either. So there's nobody really safe and nobody out of it going into tonight.
No, not at all. And we're going to go ahead and run through those standings. Obviously, first off here, going to be that 6 car with 1 win on the season. That's Daniel Ballard. He's had back-to-back podium finishes the last 2 weeks. So Ballard set himself up for really good success here at MIS. In order for him to lock himself in the championship race next week, he needs to finish 13th or better. That shouldn't be a problem at all for him. He's been really, really strong at these 2-mile tracks. He started on the pole last time we were at one, which was Auto Club. He ended up finishing 6th. So he's very consistent on these 2-mile D oval shapes tracks. So this is all great news for that 6 car.
And obviously a similar position for Jovi Sagiped, who's going to come into this one tied for that points lead. He's been on the podium in 5 of the last 6 races. In fact, he's tied for the most podium finishes in the Xfinity series. But there's one problem facing him here tonight. The only type of track Jovi has not had success on this season is the 2-miler. At our earlier race at Auto Club in February, he started 15th and finished 27th. Like Bowdler, only needs a 13th place finish to advance, so we'll see if he can avenge his bad finish from earlier this year.
Definitely, and our third driver is going to be Rhett Tucker. Rhett's one of those guys, he's always up front. That's why he's tied with Jovi Sagiped for the most podiums in the Xfinity Series. Comes into this race with 6 of those in the last 8 races. So again, he is very, very strong, but Auto Club was a difficult track for him. He started 16th, finished 17th, so he really struggled there, especially when you consider what we expect out of that 81 car. So Jovi, like Jovi, he really doesn't need to take too much of it and be too concerned. He only needs to finish 9th place or better, and with a little bit of a smaller field, that kind of helps him out. He hasn't finished lower than 7th place, Brandon, since March 25th.
Yeah, it should be a pretty safe bet there for Rhett Tucker. Another one would be a pretty safe bet if it wasn't a high bar that he has to clear to lock himself in is Greg Joyner. He can guarantee a spot one way, and that's by winning the race tonight. Let's be honest, he is due for a win this season. He does average a top 10 finish. In fact, he has more top 10s than anyone in the league, but that win continues to escape him entering tonight. And he will need that win to clinch the spot. That's to avoid with anybody else getting in the way there. But with that win, he would also get some additional momentum going to the championship should he get it.
Definitely. And the next guy that's going to be the guy on the cut line, Aaron Gerwitz. The good news for him, he's really, really good on these long track or these bigger tracks that tend to have long green flag runs, which I got to imagine we're going to see here tonight at MIS. The bad news for Gurwitz is he has absolutely no margin for error tonight. He's only 1 point above the cut with Dylan Patterson in 6th. So he's got to have, the trend line he's created where he's had a 5th place finish, then an 18th place finish. Then he finished 5th again and then was in 17th. Last week he finished 5th. So if that continues, he's going to have to really dig deep here and have a really, really strong night to make sure he is not below that cut line when we see the checker flag.
Speaking of below the cut line, the first man behind that is Dylan Patterson. He's had a couple lackluster weeks, which has put him 1 point behind, but with a win, he guarantees himself a spot in the Championship 5. With 7 top 5s this season, he does have a real shot to make a splash tonight, but the question is, who would he knock out of the playoff picture with that result? With this being such a tight race on the cut line, it may come down to leading a lap to get a bonus point. Hope he's listening because leading a lap has saved multiple drivers from elimination already this season.
Definitely, and moving on here to the 7th place driver is going to be Mike Lepicki. He's got Mike's been in the top 10 9 times this season. So most importantly to note is he finished in the top 10 in Auto Club back in February when he finished 9th. That was with a field of 37 drivers. Tonight I think we've got about 24 drivers on the track. So if that's the case, and he drives like he did at Auto Club, I expect him to be, that top 5, margin right there for him. But will a top 5 be enough for Mike Lepicki to advance tonight?
It's going to be a similar situation for Bo Tiffany, who's tied with Mike Lepicki 8 points below the cut line. One thing to note is that while Mike finished 9th at Auto Club, Bo finished 8th, so we could have a great battle between these two that could have playoff implications if some other things fall correctly for them. If last night's Truck Series race is any indication, we could have an interesting finish on our hands.
Yeah, and then next here is going to be Devin Zimmerman. I'm going to say Devin's only 9 points below the cut line, The reason I say that is he just does not go away at all. He had a bad race at Charlotte, finishing dead last. Not what he wanted, obviously. But before that race, he had been on a 4 top 10 streak in 5 of the last 5 races. So he is, he's hoping to have that Hail Mary here for Zimmerman. And obviously, we had Mike Lepicki finish 9th. Bo Tiffany finished 8th at Auto Club earlier this season. And guess who finished 7th? That's Devin Zimmerman. So you never know. Maybe we'll see a 4-way tie on that cut line, Brandon.
I love a good bit of symmetry there. And last man in our playoff 10 is Zach Taylor. The last 2 weeks have been extremely uncharacteristic for him, with a 21st and a 14th place finish in the past 2 weeks. He will need a bit of a miracle here tonight. That being said, keep in mind that at the Truck Series race last night, none of the playoff drivers finished on the podium. So if Zach can pull off a win tonight and a few other drivers have bad races, he could pull off a serious upset here from 12 points back. If that happens, he may become the favorite next week with all the momentum.
Definitely. Qualifying's over. Cars are on the pit lane, gridded up, ready to go here tonight for the Great Lakes 150 at my home track of Michigan International Speedway. Putting it on the poles at 85 car. That's going to be Gregory Joyner, independent driver. Second place, Dylan Patterson, the man right below the cut line, only 1 point out. Daniel Keith Jr. is going to be rolling off P3 in that 23 car. Nathaniel Mon in the 84 at Bronco Motorsports having a great qualifying there in 4th, and Rhett Tucker, his teammate, right behind him in 5th in that 81 car.
And we'll have Joshua Siegfried in the 6th place in that 66 Red Racing car. And think about this, 0.003 of a second separating 3rd from 6th. That is very close times here in qualifying. Nick Gowen, the man on back-to-back wins, will start in 7th. Outside of row 4 will be Jovi Sagiped, tied for the points lead entering this race. Stan Hausman and Devin Zimmerman make up row number 5, with Michael Lepicki and Greg Olenek and row number 6.
Absolutely. This is going to be a great race, I think. Last night, obviously, you were in the field for the Truck Series. You witnessed it firsthand how crazy it can be here. I expect nothing less from these Xfinity boys here tonight. You see them rolling off pit lane right now, Brandon, so we're going to have 1 lap of pacing here. We're going to get the green flag next time by. But, buddy, I'm going to give you the pick to win here first. Who are you picking tonight?
We saw a trend last night where there were a lot of drivers that moved from behind the cut line up above that cut line. Unfortunately, I was one of the sacrificed ones on that one that went from up to back down. But I'm going to go with somebody that's below that cut line and showing some good speed here this week, tonight. And I'm going to go with Dylan Patterson starting in 2nd in that 8 car.
Yeah, not a bad pick. I mean, you come into a race knowing you're 1 point out of it. Your back's pushed up against the wall. I like that pick right there in the 8 car for Dylan Patterson. Tonight, man, I got to imagine, we talked about him, that 85 car. He doesn't have a single win on the season. Starting this thing off P1, that means he's going to have the first pit stop or first pit box for pit stops. That's always crucial at a track like MIS to maintain track position or be able to gain some track position. I think you're going to see Gregory Joyner get into victory lane for the first time this season, with only 1 week left, next week being the championship race. What better momentum for a driver that has not won yet going into the championship race?
And I like that pick as well. And both those picks, they had top 10 finishes at Dover in our last cutoff race, so they do know how to close on these cutoff races. See if they can repeat that here at Michigan.
Absolutely. You see the pace car dive off, getting ready to come down pit lane. That means the field's going to be in control of Gregory Joyner in that 85 car, and he's going to go early, Brandon, trying to get away from the field. The draft is it's still prevalent here at MIS in the Xfinity car, but it's not a lot, like the truck. So if Greg can get away here, which he's starting to pull away from Patterson by a bit, this is, obviously big for him to be able to lead that first lap and get a bonus point here early and not have to worry about that in the middle of the race.
Yeah, and we saw last night at times we did have some decently long green flag runs, so getting out in front early. We do have a smaller field than we here tonight than we had last night, so if he can check out early, we might see this thing go green for a while if they spread out. That might be the best case scenario for him, getting this early jump.
I tell you what, that 81 car right there really rolled the center of the corner underneath Daniel Keith Jr., going to move up to P5 to conclude lap number 1 here at the Great Lakes 150, but Gregory Joyner leading that first lap, but Dylan Patterson's kind of run him down a little bit. But third place, Nathaniel Mon, showing some really, really good speed here, trying to get to the inside of Dylan Patterson. Doesn't get it done through 1 and 2. But the battle for 4th place between Rhett Tucker and Jovi Sagiped's heating up as well. We got a lot of little battles around the track here on these restarts. That's kind of what MIS gives the fans to be able to watch here at a track like this.
Yeah, and curious to see if Joyner, Patterson, and Mann can stay single file. They might check out a little bit, having that 3-car draft. But if they start trying to make some moves against each other, then I expect the field to reel them back in. If you're within about 3/4 of a second to a second, that draft is still a heavy factor.
Oh, absolutely. It definitely is. And you see Joshua Segfrey go to the inside of Devin Zimmerman, and he's going to try to bring his teammate along, Greg Olenek, there on the inside of Devin Zimmerman. But Daniel Ballard getting a big run off the corner. Going to make it 3 wide down the backstretch as they head down into turn 3. This is where things can get a little dicey, 3 wide into turn 3.
Yeah, and thankfully, unlike at Charlotte, you can definitely make 3 wide work here, and they're doing a good job of that. You can see you can really get about 5 cars wide. Do I recommend that? Absolutely not. But you can go about 5 wide as opposed to what we saw last week. And that's a good move there by Daniel Bowdler. Everybody holding their line steady and keeping it clean there, and it's really good driving here for everybody just continuing to work their way forward.
And we missed the pass for the lead. Dylan Patterson got himself around Gregory Joyner for the lead, so that means he's led a lap, got a bonus point there, and he's starting to drive away a little bit from Gregory Joyner. He's up to almost to a 3/10 lead on Greg, so he made the pass very quick, and now he's making even quicker time up front as we see 2 teammates kind of stuck behind one another. But Rhett Tucker going to try to peek his nose to make it 3 wide, but he's going to fall in line right behind Jovi Sagiped down the front stretch.
In fact, he's going to try to make it 3 wide here, taking the middle line as they go towards turn 1. I think he's going to... he did still have that nose in there a little bit. Nathaniel Mann will back out of it, though, and let the top 2, or let 2 of the top drivers in our point standings battle it out side by side without him there in the mix.
Yeah, that's always good to see a non-playoff driver kind of check up a little bit. Obviously Nate was in the playoffs, but he got eliminated. But he's going to check up, let these guys kind of battle it out right now. It's so early in this race. But if this thing was later on, Nate's in his own right running to have a really, really strong finish. So these guys got to be aware that someone like Nate wouldn't lift later on in this race.
Yeah, it's a good trust factor, and it also helps. Rhett Tucker, it's a teammate there, so there's probably a little bit of communication there in the team chat of, hey, maybe you can back out on this one, or maybe it was Nathaniel that just said, hey, I'm going to back out here, give you a little bit more space. Still early. Yeah,
Rhett Tucker, though, making a move for second to the inside of Gregory Joyner. So this 81 car started back in 5th, kind of was hanging out. Now he is moving his way to the front. Going to pull the old slider on Gregory Joyner, but Greg's going to come back with the crossover, try to get to Rhett's inside as they come down the front stretch. And they're all setting their sights on sale for the 8-car, Dylan Patterson. And, this is good, hard racing up here in the front right now.
Yeah, and I really like that crossover move. That was something I got to play with a good bit yesterday in the Truck Series race. Ooh, that got tight. And he's still stay in front, kind of slide up in front of the nose there of the 3-car. I think Jovi gave him a little bit of space. Not a whole lot, but gave him enough space to make that move back up and get back in line. As Dylan Patterson now caught by Rhett Tucker.
Yeah, Rhett Tucker ran that high side to the outside of Gregory Joyner out of 2 and got a huge run down the back, able to get to the rear bumper of Dylan Patterson. Now down the front again, he's going to make a move to the inside. So the 81 wants to get to the lead and be in command of this race early on. And I got to imagine he's going to be able to get this thing cleared through 1 and 2. But here comes Dylan Patterson, running that high side, but he's going to do the crossover, though. We saw this with Greg Joyner. Wasn't able to make it happen, and Rhett was able to go down into the next set of the turns and able to clear him off that huge run these drivers get on the high side.
Yeah, that crossover is really potent here at Michigan. You have these wide sweeping turns, and when you run the outside, you do carry a little bit more speed than you do on the inside because of that tighter turn radius. Because those turns take so long to go through, though, if you're on that high side, you can kind of slide it down the hill and get a little bit more speed when you come down to the inside. When the driver that was on the inside starts sliding up the hill and loses a little bit of speed, really potent move that you can have that crossover here at Michigan.
Yeah, and you see Dylan Patterson was able to get back to the front in the lead here and, keep Rhett behind him now. So, it kind of makes you wonder, was Rhett maybe pushing a little too much early on? But Zach Taylor going to the inside of his teammate Mike Lepicki down the back. That's going to be the battle for 10th place. It looks like Zach Taylor's going to try to the inside, get clear of his teammate. Like you said earlier on, I think with teammates, man, you got to have communication, kind kind of lifts for him, let him get clear, and let, Zach work his way up, possibly up to the top 5.
Yeah, that's a little risky, though, if you're Mike Lipicki. There's some teammates that if you're one is in, one is out, that makes it easy on how you're going to handle that situation. They're both fighting for that those 5 championship spots. Lipicki 7th in points, Taylor 10th in points.
Yeah, this is, really, really hard racing all around. I mean, we got 4 cars here battling for 4th place. Jovi Sagiped right now leading this thing, but he's got, Nathaniel Mon behind him, Joshua Segfried right there, and then that 6 car, Daniel Ballard as well. They're all kind of waiting for Nate to get around him, but it's tough here because you got to be really, really, on point with where you kind of make your moves, and the momentum down these straightaways is huge. But you see Gregory Joyner kind of ran back Rhett Tucker down, and now trying to get back around to 2nd place, and I think that's really where, Greg got out front early on, but, wanted to run his pace, wasn't going to let the guys behind him make him push too hard and use his stuff up early. Like we kind of see him, being able to run these guys down. I think that's just the difference of strategies going at this race right now.
Yeah, and this track, it does kind of have a similar vibe to what you would see play out at like a Daytona or Talladega. Obviously, you're not going to be going full throttle all the way through. Tire wear and handling is going to be a much bigger factor because you're not going all out. But just the way that the draft carries, the way that you can build momentum into and out of the turns, and how much the tight racing you see. We saw this is pretty stretched out compared to what we saw yesterday in the truck race. Last night, we were seeing a good moment where there was about 10, 12 trucks all in some hornet's nest kind of moments that really resembled a super speedway. So we're kind of seeing that a little bit less here, but you do still have that effect where it does kind of play out with that draft, and you can kind of work together, get those runs, but you do still have to keep in mind with those tires, and I think that's what Joyner was doing, just taking it easy there that first 10 laps.
Yeah, definitely, and you see Nathaniel Mon able to get around Jovi Sagiped, but that 66 is, battling hard on the inside. They're going to be 3 wide down the front stretch, though. Jovi trying to peek his nose, but Nathaniel Mon got a bit of a run towards the end of the straightaway. But we're going to have 2 wide, 2 rows deep here through 1 and 2, with the 66 and the 6 to the inside, and then the 84 and the 3 on the outside. These boys are battling right now back here in the 5th. But while they're all doing that, man, these leaders are kind of checked out by almost a second over, this battle for 4th place.
And not only are the top 3 checking out, but everybody behind that 4-car race is pulling up to their back bumpers as they were lined up pretty good. So you see Taylor now about a 1/10 of a second back, and then everybody else is starting to reel him in, led by Greg Olenek in 9th. But this top 3, they want to keep seeing that side-by-side racing.
Yeah, definitely. And you see Zach Taylor now to the inside of Daniel Ballard. He's one of those guys that really needs a Hail Mary. I believe he was 12 points out of it coming into this thing, so he's going to need to have a great run himself, but then have the luck of some of the other guys in the final 10 right now kind of, be towards the back of the pack if he's going to have a shot at this thing, move it into, the championship 5 at Texas.
Yeah, as we are, by the way, we're about a half.
Those 2 are really tight right there.
Oh, that very close for 2 playoff drivers there, the 14 and the 6. A lot less to lose there if you're Taylor in the 14, but Daniel Bowdler's looking at that going, oh man, don't make that contact. I got a whole lot to lose in this one. He's the points leader coming into this one, tied with Jovi Sagiped in the 3, as we are about halfway through this first fuel cycle already. So we might be starting to see these green flag pit stops possibly in the next 10 laps. Yeah,
I'm actually riding on board with one of my team cars, so they got about 6 gallons left, which is going to equate to about 16 laps of fuel. So that should bring them to about lap 31, 32. But man, that makes this thing not a one-stop race. I don't think you're going to be able to save 4 laps of fuel here at a track like Michigan International Speedway, where it's all about, throttle down these straightaways, keeping up that momentum. So I think it's going to have to be a 2-stop race. So I wouldn't be surprised if these guys, might not think about, pitting a little earlier than lap 32, something like that. So we keep our eye out on it. But right now, Dustin Scruggs right there to the inside of Devin Zimmerman, trying to find follow Aaron Gurwitz in that 09. He's running a different paint scheme this week, but that looks good for that 09 car.
Yeah, good looking car there. Seen a lot of return to the old original paint schemes after last week. We had the patriotic theme with Memorial Day. And looking at that '09 car, he's starting to move up through the field after starting in the 20th position. Another man on the move is Dustin Scruggs in the 11. You saw him a moment ago. He was very fast in practice, but had a struggle in qualifying, starting 16th.
Yeah, he definitely did. But, you know, that's where this race, you can make some moves and move up through the field, as we see, you know. Right now, Zachary Taylor started 14th. He's up to 7th. Daniel Ballard started 13th. He's up to 8th. Danny Dow right behind Daniel Ballard started 15th. He's up to 9th. So these guys are able to claw their way through the field, even though, you know, we haven't had a yellow flag yet. You know, even though this thing's kind of stringed out some single file with a few battles here and there, I mean, it is very possible to be able to run guys down and make passes here at Michigan.
Yeah, and honestly, once they get single file, it starts to become a little bit easier to make those passes. You think, you know, at times if you get side by side, you get these packs going, it's easy to get somebody that makes a mistake and has to check up, things like that.
Oh, Joshua Siegfried all by himself. Kind of losing it. That's why you see some smoke there on the screen. I think he just got loose all by himself trying to keep the car off the wall out of turn 2. Great save, says the field, and he'll be able to, you know, blend back up with the field, but he is going to lose a ton of time, you know, to the field. So unfortunately for the 66, no yellow, but he's got to get this thing going, you know, get back up onto the track and, you know, try to make up as much time as possible.
Yeah, lost a lot of time, a lot of position, going to lose a lot of tire condition as well, and it looked like he might have had a little bit of damage to the back of the car, so I'm not sure if he caught the wall and lost it or if that was from earlier, or my eyes are just playing games, and it wasn't really, it was just paint scheme. But, yeah, that's... As we watch Michael Lipicki trying to work his way up from the 10th position, Daniel Bowdler and Danny Dow side by side. That the race for 6th and 7th. Dow had a great run at Auto Club earlier this year, led 11 laps. He finished 14th, but was up front for a lot of that 75-lap race. So not really a surprise to see him up front here, contending for a top 5 spot.
Yeah, Daniel Keith Jr., though, Brandon, going to be our first driver down pit lane, so the 23 car for Team SRN, bringing it down, you know, the first one. So gonna be interesting to see if a lot of guys see that and say, all righty, if he's coming down, I need 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles and some Sunoco race fuel. But man, what a move there by Devin Zimmerman to, you know, come down the track. He was right behind Dustin Scruggs out of turn 2, and I mean, he was all but underneath that, you know, white line down the back stretch trying to get around him, but him and his teammate right in front of him battling hard right now with that 09 Aaron Gurwitz right there for, I believe that's going to be for 9th place or 10th place right there in front of him.
How about the implications in this group of 4? You got 3 playoff drivers all surrounding that cut line, and then you also got Dustin Scruggs, who's 2nd place in the Tier 2 championships. There's a whole lot going on in this race for 10th through 13th.
Definitely, you know, and that's the thing, right? Devin Zimmerman, like his teammate, really needs to have an awesome run here tonight. Aaron Gerwitz is right on that cut line, so he's definitely seeing his relative or his standings, you know, seeing that Dylan Patterson is up front, you know, winning this race right now, and that is not what Aaron needs to see. But Aaron's best friend right now is going to be this 85 car, because he's obviously already in the top 5. So if he's able to, you know, pass Dylan Patterson, that takes away some bonus points for Dylan. But, you know, even though if Dylan doesn't win, man, he's in 2nd. Aaron Gerwitz is back there in 13th spot. That's a lot of points right there, and I know that cut line's only 1 point.
Yeah, if they wind up 2nd and 13th, that's 11 points, not even counting the bonus points, which Patterson at this point has led the most laps thus far. So he'd pick up 2 bonus points, 1 for leading a lap, 1 for leading the most, should that all hold. But we still got a long way to go, and still haven't even gotten to our first sequence of pit stops. And we saw Daniel Keith Jr. come in at lap 20. I think that's a little too early, and looks like nobody's really buying that bait. I mean, really, I would say once you get to lap 25 is really when that's going to open up, because you can turn this into a 3-segment race.
Yeah, I think lap 20, you know, you never know. We don't know for sure. Daniel Keith Jr. could have had a little bit of damage, which is absolutely going to, you know, ruin your lap times here at Michigan International Speedway with how important aero is here. So any sort of front-end damage is really going to kill your straightaway speeds, going to make the car really tight in the corner. So, you know, he knew he was kind of in the window, so maybe he was thinking, I got to come down and get this, you know, fast repair clicked off and, you know, get me a fresh car. That way I'm able to turn fast laps and not lose too much time to the leaders, even though he's pitting a lot earlier than these other guys. But Dustin Scruggs right now trying to hold off Devin Zimmerman, who's gotten around Aaron Gurwitz, who's now And Nick Owen, we see another driver here in pits. That's the leader of the second-tier playoffs, and he's getting lapped, and he's going to be really far behind the leaders. Obviously, more than obviously a lap. No kidding, I just said he got lapped, but that's a lot of time. I think he's kind of really fallen off. That 88 car looked to have a lot of damage.
Yeah, and we got the 66 who we saw spin earlier. Didn't bring out a caution, but did have
happening, my man.
As he makes his stop, and yeah, we got a few coming in. In fact, that driver chat is lighting up like a Christmas tree at this point. Everybody's starting to say they're coming in, it seems like.
Oh, absolutely. The second place, Gregory Joyner, going to come down pit lane. Zach Taylor.
Oh, no. Oh, and that's making it even worse. Keep it off the wall. Nice job keeping it off the wall, but he might have a penalty coming for entering way too hot on that one.
Yeah, I got to imagine he was speeding right there. It kind of reminded me of Monday night, but I was able to keep it under pit lane, but I think I just saw he was almost 20 miles an hour faster than pit lane speed there for the 14 car, so gonna really hurt his chances, if you ask me, Brandon, if he did end up getting a pass-through penalty.
And even worse with the fact that this race has been very clean thus far, and if we stay green the whole way, as we got the leaders now coming in. Oh, hot entry here for Nathaniel Mann, and he's going to catch the wall and spin, and he's going to hit the 8 almost.
Oh, but thankfully he had gone so far left. iRacing kind of makes your car invisible, so to speak, so the 8 car was able to drive through him, or else that would have really hurt Dylan Patterson having to use a fast repair this early for something as simple as coming down into pit lane.
That is the code brown of all code browns there for our race leader, Dylan Patterson, as he almost got wiped out on pit road as Jovi Sogiped takes the lead. He did lead that last lap, picking up a bonus point, which will go a long way here as he tries to stay above that cut line, as he did enter this tied for the points lead, but still relatively close and not safe entering this race.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting just with the different strategies. A lot of guys are staying out a lot longer. Obviously, Jovi Sogiped, our leader right now, is staying out even longer. But, not the car right there on the apron, but there's a car that's, quite a bit of ways ahead of him, almost into turn 3 now. That's going to be the 85 of Gregory Joyner. That's just the difference of fresh tires, and just how quick the 85 is going to be able to turn laps. He's also got himself in front of the leader. So that means, if the yellow falls here, he won't be a lap down, won't have to get the wave around or worry about being the lucky dog. But our leader right now, Jovi Sogiped, going to come down pit lane and bring in P2, Danny Dow with him. Looks like Daniel Ballard is going to stay out to try to lead a lap.
And Ballard does lead that lap. And next one up that might try to stay out one more lap would be Aaron Gurwitz, but it sounds like he's actually going to be coming in this time. So he's probably very close to running out of gas here. If not, I would try to stay out and pick up that bonus point.
Oh man, Brandon Domain, Dylan Patterson, I think, got an unsafe pit exit. He was saying it in race chat, kind of complaining about the situation. That is really going to hurt him here, trying to get himself into the playoff picture. He is definitely going to need a yellow to get himself on the lead lap eventually.
Wow, 2 playoff drivers that are below the cut line with pit penalties, as we saw Zachary Taylor speeding, entering in, and now the 8 car of Dylan Patterson with the unsafe exit, which is either speeding on the way out or going above the line before passing the blue cone coming out of turn 2. Just big mistakes, and that's the things that can happen when the pressure's on and you're trying to keep up as far forward as you can. Those mistakes can't happen. You see Daniel Ballard slowing up. That looks like he's going to be making his pit stop here. Yeah, there were around 3 cars that were inside of him, though, to get to this entry.
Oh, absolutely. He definitely had to give up a lot of time there with some guys unlapping themselves to him. And you see the 13 of Bo Tiffany coming in. So, but for Daniel, man, he pitted a lot later than some guys, so he's going to have fresher tires than who eventually is going to take over this lead, which is going to be Gregory Joyner. But I think the 85 is going to be really, really out front by a good amount of time compared to Daniel Ballard, who's got to still be in pit lane getting service. I mean, Greg's coming out of turn 4, and Daniel Ballard, I believe, if I go to it, yeah, he's still sitting on pit lane right now. So Brandon, I mean, the 85 is got a big gap back to second place.
Yeah, it's going to be about a 4.5 second lead, and that's the product of 3 drivers in the top 10, all having issues on pit road. where you throw Nathaniel Mann into that one as well with that spin and catching the wall a little bit. That he's still holding on to the third position, but just that time difference. If we stay green the rest of the way, it's going to be very hard to catch that 85.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what he wants. He needs this thing to stay as green for as long as possible. Click off laps, lead the most laps if you're the 85. That way you get the most bonus points. And if it does stay green the entirety of the race, I mean he's going to be really, really tough to catch and pass.
Yeah, I mean the only thing that'll get in his way is making a mistake. The second round of green flag pit stop, should it stay green the whole way, or just lap traffic, which can start coming into the picture maybe at the end of this run and this fuel cycle. So maybe around that lap 50 mark, as we're seeing cars about half a lap down naturally.
Exactly, and Greg Olnick has worked his way through the field. He started back in 12th up to 5th now in that Moo and Brew Chevy Camaro. So he's not in the playoffs, but man, he's trying to spoil the party just like that 84 car is. Jovi Sagiped trying to make a run to his outside as they head down into 1. And really wrap that high side to be able to get a huge run down the straightaways. So this is going to be a great battle here for 5th. You see Devin Zimmerman right in front of him in 4th place. This man needed to have a great run. You got the misfortune of these other playoff drivers with speeding penalties, things like that. You never know until this checkered flag waves.
Well, and look at the left side of the screen right now. If anybody's name is highlighted in green, they're a playoff driver. Look at the bottom 3 drivers, and then 13th, 15th, and 16th. That is 6 of the 10 playoff drivers, with 4 in the top 5. If you're Devin Zimmerman right now, it's looking pretty good if it all stays as it is. Still obviously a long way to go, but he has put that 33 in a great position.
Oh, definitely. I mean, he's moved up this much. We still have, obviously another round of pit stops if we go green again to the final pit stop. So if the trend continues, this 33's only got 3 more guys to get around, but the 3 car is going to try to make a move here to the inside into turn 3 to take over 4th place. So the battle of the 3 on the car, with the 33 and the 3, Jovi Sagiped has got to have a couple lap fresher old tires, because he just kind of went by him like a standing still object, so to speak, as they went down into turn 3.
Yeah, and I'll say it's not a whole lot of speed difference with the tires up until maybe about halfway through the run, depending on the line that you run, though. If you run on the outside, you can really stretch those tires out, as we see the wall riding here from Nick Gowen and Daniel Keith Jr. That's the position that's really going to save those tires a little bit more. If you're aggressive with the throttle, ooh, nice slide move there to get around the 23. But if you're running the inside, that's where you start wearing it out, and that's where the difference comes in. We don't see as much fall off here as we did at Charlotte, like we saw last week, but it does become a factor on where you put that car and how it handles.
Definitely, and that's the thing. There's a lot of lanes to choose here at MIS. So, like you said, you can put your car in a lot of spots. They're all gonna, pay off differently for you. One's gonna be quicker lap time wise. One's gonna be better on the longer run to save those tires. So that's what these drivers, in a race like this, are going to have to think. Then you throw on the fact that this is a playoff race with it being a cutoff. So there's a lot to be processing behind the wheel of one of these drivers.
Yeah, we watched Danny Dow trying to work his way around the 33 of Devin Zimmerman. Greg Olenek is probably going to be picking, all right, which lane is going to be the one that leads coming out of turn 2, and that's the lane that he'll follow. Looks like he's going to go on the high side and see if Zimmerman will get that run coming out of turn 2. Actually, might be looking to dive it down inside, doing one of those little, somewhat of a crossover move, and he's just going to hold steady here, it looks like.
Definitely. Olenek is very, very, conservative with it, very patient driver. He won't make a move that's going to hurt his car, put himself in a bad situation. So he's going to be very, very methodical about this, kind of wait for Zimmerman to make a little bit of a mistake, overdrive the corner, maybe, not get enough out of it and really pounce on that opportunity. But Brad Williams trying to take over 13th here from Mike Lepicki, and he's, again, just right up to him, moving away and pulling away from the 46 of Mike Lepicki, and he's already setting himself up to make a move here on this 09 car of Aaron Gurwitz.
Yeah, that 89 of Brad Williams, along with the 6 of Daniel Bowdler, both starting to make a move through the field. Bowdler up to 10th. Williams up to 13th as we watch Jovi Sagiped make a move to the inside of Nathaniel Mann. This is the race for 3rd position. And based on that pace, I like Jovi getting clear here coming out of turn 4. That outside run might be there, but it's going to turn into a crossover here coming down the front straightaway. Jovi going to block that to the inside, and he's going to get clear.
Yeah, I think right there is a difference of a couple lap fresher tires. Jovi pit lap 27 to 28. Nate pitted lap 25 to 26. So 2 laps fresher tires on that 3 car is going to really pay off for Jovi as he's going to start driving away from him. And again, you see that on your screen with the 89 car. Just the big difference of the speed in the middle of the corners, the center, from the center off, man, that's what it has to be. With it being a fixed setup, everyone's got the exact same setup in the car. So between driver and pit strategy, with a few fresher or a few more less laps than the other guys around you on your tires, I mean that is why you're seeing some of these guys really gain a ton of time and be able to start gapping them.
Couple developments as we watch this race for 11th, 12th, and 13th that does involve Aaron Gurwitz, the bubble driver, coming into this race in the 09. Gregory Joyner's lead has been cut in half, though, down to now under 2 seconds as Rhett Tucker reeling him in, and you see that car that's now in front of the race leader in the 85. That's the 14 of Zachary Taylor. He's gotten his lap back naturally on the track, so if a caution were to come out, that would put Dylan Patterson in the lucky dog position.
Definitely, and got to imagine, that's kind of hurting Gregory Joyner as the leader, having a lap down car in front of you. But funny story, if we can't move to Aaron Gerwitz's paint scheme here. We kind of pointed out how it's a different paint scheme. So I was the one that kind of got this all started between Aaron Gerwitz, who is a huge Nashville Predators fan, and Devin Zimmerman in the 33, who's a huge Carolina Hurricanes fan. These 2 teams played each other in the first round of the playoffs for the Stanley Cup playoffs in the NHL. And I said, hey, whoever's team loses, I think you have to run a paint scheme for the winner's team. And sure enough, Devin Zimmerman's team, the Hurricanes, won. So that's why you see Aaron Gurwitz running a Carolina Hurricanes paint scheme here tonight.
I thought I recognized a bunch of jerks lying there on the rear of that car, and just wasn't sure if that's what it was, if that was the payoff here this week. I can't say a whole lot. My Dallas Stars didn't even come close to making the playoffs this year after being in the final last year, but as we got a good race here. But I like that little bit of fun here, getting some outside sports involved in these paint schemes. Nice little punishment there for Gerwitz to be running that car here tonight as we watch Jovi Sogipad make the move now around Tucker for second.
Yeah, Jovi Sogipad kind of ran his way up to these guys, got around them. Now he's going to try to reel down Gregory Joyner in that 85, but I tell you what, the guy in 5th place right now, Danny Dow, is marching his way through this field. He is catching these 3 in front of him really quick by about 2 to 3 tenths a lap. This 21 car, he is very consistent, very conservative with his tires, and the longer runs really play into the hands of someone like Danny Dow, a seasoned veteran, knows what he's doing behind the wheel of a race car. So I would not be surprised if this thing continues, from this point on to the checkered flag. The 21 car is going to be someone that we're going to be keeping our eye out and talking about quite a bit here soon.
Yeah, it's funny how Auto Club and Michigan, they're very similar, but they're very different at the same time in both the lap times and the way that they just kind of handle. And part of that's just based on the simulation of the asphalt and in real life how it is. But you can tell a lot from how somebody's going to do at one track to the next. Danny Dow had a great run at Auto Club a couple months ago, early on in the season. So it was a good sign that he was going to have a good run here, but he is really putting this thing together as we get past midway through this race.
Definitely, and you can see he's going to get a big pull from these 2 guys in front of him, the 2 Bronco Motorsports teammates. So got to imagine down into turn 1, maybe set him off for a pass off at turn 2. Definitely going to get to the outside of the 84, Nathaniel Mon, as they head down into turn 1. He's going to be looking to make it 3 wide, but Danny Dow's definitely going to kind of check up, make sure he gets a better run than the 84 off the corner, kind of follow Rhett Tucker, work that draft as well to really kind of, make the pass before they get down into turn 3. But kind of surprised he didn't get that good of a run off the top.
I feel like the 84 came up the track a little bit, and I'm not sure if that's been his natural line in 1 and 2, or if he was trying to close that door on Dow, making it 3 wide up the middle. But either way, whenever that happened, Dow kind of lost that little bit of momentum. I think he checked up just a little bit coming out of 2.
Yeah, definitely, and that's what I mean. Danny Dow, he races dirt, or used to race dirt back in the day, so he knows what it takes to pass a guy, especially, racing as much as he does, and now how much time he puts on iRacing. He knows he doesn't need to get it done here, in this corner. We're on only lap 45 of 75. There's a long way to go, so Danny Dow methodically working his way up, trying to get to fourth place here and clear Rhett to try to get to Jovi. We're trying to get to third to then get to second place, Jovi Sagipet.
Yeah, and he almost got the 2-for-1 there in turns 1 and 2. That outside line just enough for Tucker to hold on and keep it side by side down the backstretch and now down the front stretch as they come out of 4. A little squirrely there for both of them. Looked like they were trying to anticipate each other's movement, and both kind of misread it and nearly made a little bit of contact. Did a good job staying away from each other, but this is good quality racing here at Michigan where that outside line does pay off. As we check back in now side by side, Nick Goen and Mike Lepicki. This for 15th and 16th. Also have Bo Tiffany there in the 13, just ahead of them in 14th. Couple playoff drivers in our Tier 2 leader here in this 3-car pack.
And Dustin Scruggs having another good run. We saw him running up front, leading a few laps at Charlotte Motor Speedway. He's trying to get himself up into the top 5, trying to work around the 31 of Greg Olenek. Then you see Daniel Ballard, our points tied for the points lead. He only needs a 13th place or better finish, and he's in 9th right now. So as long as something crazy doesn't happen here in the final 29 laps for Daniel Ballard, he'll be moving on, but he's got to be really cautious of that. You don't want to kind of, get loosened up, not really be as focused, because you can start losing quite a bit of, lap time, and, you could fall back pretty quick here. But again, Rhett Tucker, trying to keep that 4th place. His teammate, Nathaniel Mon, really, really keeping the pressure on him, making him be honest with himself. So, Nate is trying to get up here and try to get battling up front for this lead as well.
And keep in mind, we've got about 27 laps to go. The fuel window in that 25 to 30 lap range, depending on how hard you're pushing it. So that window now open to get to the end of the race for most everybody, if not all the drivers. So if there's anybody feeling uncomfortable or anybody that's in a pack, they might think about making that move a little bit early and trying to stretch it the rest of the way on that final set of tires.
Definitely, and someone like Nathaniel Mon, you got nothing to lose. Obviously, Rhett Tucker going to say he's coming down pit lane right now this lap. That's the 81 who is running 4th place, so he's going to be our first leader coming down pit lane. So we're going to see how this all works out. We'll see, if these guys that were in front of him or right behind him follow down this time. They don't want to lose that much time because we see how crucial those new tires are and how much faster you are than the guys that are still out on track on older tires.
Now there's two trains of thought. Do you come in early and try to protect that undercut, that little bit of one from Tucker, or do you just stay out as long as you can and bank on some kind of chaos happening when you have a bunch of pit entries, a bunch of pit exits, a bunch of mixed tire strategies, a lot of different speeds out there? This is the time where a caution is a higher percentage of happening. So if you try to stay out a little bit, you might get that 1 lap bonus of being in front of everybody and staying out. But it's got a risk to it as well.
Yeah, Gregory Joyner came down. Devin Zimmerman and Greg Olenek there on your screen pitting. Stan Hausman and Aaron Gurwitz in. So a lot of our playoff drivers that were up front following down 1 lap later than, Rhett Tucker to come down for what they think is going to be the final time unless we see a yellow flag. You see Mike Lepicki back there pitting as well. So, the green flag pit stops are definitely underway here. The 84 just came over race chat saying, hey, I'm coming down pit lane. So these guys are going to be coming as quick as possible. But again, Daniel Ballard stayed out really, really late compared to everyone else. So he can have the fortune of staying out a lot longer. And Jovi Sagipet coming down pit lane. And if you're Daniel Ballard, you're going to lose some time right now to these guys, but you're going to have, fewer laps to go. So you can push those tires that much harder knowing you don't have to take those tires, as long of a distance as these guys that are coming off pit lane this time.
And we saw him moving through the field. I believe at the end of that green flag cycle, he was around 14th or 15th, and he worked his way all the way back up to 8th once these pit stops started. So he did have a good run because of that little bit of an advantage of the fresher tires, just having a little bit more grip there. And he might be trying to replicate that here if he can get clean in and clean off.
And you see Danny Dow coming down pit lane as well, so he's giving up the lead. That means Daniel Ballard's going to take the lead here. Going to lead another lap. That's Devin Zimmerman behind him, who's not on the lead lap. He's trying to unlap himself. That way, if a yellow flag comes out, he doesn't have to worry about being the lucky dog or taking the wave around, which could really hurt you in the long run here. So, but I tell you right now, the 85 car pitted 1 lap after Rhett Tucker, and the 81 of Rhett Tucker is all over his back bumper as these two guys are driving through 3 and 4. As we still see Daniel Ballard going into turn 3. So this is the battle what will be for the lead once the green flag pit stops kind of cycle through.
And that's the difference there between fresh tires for that 1 extra lap, where the 81 came in a little bit ahead of the 85. As they're side by side, looks like Tucker's going to get clear of Joyner for position. Joyner going to try to come back into the inside. He'll get the run into turn 3. I still like that outside line at this point in the tire wear, though. Unless Joyner can just really stick this one deep, he's going to give it a shot. Tucker looks like he slid a little bit.
Yeah, Greg Joyner pulls the bottom lane off. He's going to now have to defend because Rhett, even though he kind of had a little bit of slide out of 4, still going to get a better run down the front stretch off of Greg. But here comes Rhett Tucker to the inside of Greg, going to try the same thing. But I think Greg kind of was able to hold tough on the outside. Got a little bit of a wiggle, though, and now you see Rhett clear himself as they head off turn 2 down the back straightaway. They're going to be going into 3 this time, coming to 21 laps to go. But these guys, they got to be aware. They're racing each other really, really hard right now. They're, 3 seconds ahead of Jovi Sagipet, but they're going to be using their tires up, a lot trying to battle each other for this lead.
Yeah, and that's going to be an interesting thing there, as we saw Jovi really come to life in the second half of that run. It sounds like Daniel Bowdler is going to be coming in. If I'm Bo Tiffany, if I still have at least one more, a little dangerous there with Gurwitz right behind him. If I'm Bo Tiffany and I still have a little bit of gas left for at least one more lap, I'm staying out at this point, taking the lead. If he can cross that line, he should be able to before Bowdler does. He'll get that bonus point. And at this point, if I'm Tiffany, I just stay out here as long as possible, hope for a caution, and then come in at the last moment.
Oh, absolutely. You run that thing till it's dry, because if there is a yellow, you'll be the leader. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But you'll have a lot, fresher tires once you come out of the pit, so you'll make some of that time up. But someone in his situation in the playoff standings, you've got to let it all out on the line and go for it. And I think that's what Bo Tiffany's trying to do right here, right in front of us.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to go atypical from everybody else. Try a different strategy and hit that home run if it pays off. And he's going to continue to get another lap out here. He's got to be running pretty close and just hoping for that caution to come out. We do have a couple of close races that are about side by side within about a half second of each other on the track, so there is that possibility, but it's been such a clean race. It's hard to imagine that caution is going to come.
Yeah, definitely. And you see Gregory Joyner kind of now just sitting in the tire tracks of the 81 car, just kind of following them along. Rhett has kind of done this early on. He's the faster of these two, but the longer this thing goes, the 85 is quite a bit quicker than him on the stopwatch. So, if this thing goes, the next 20 laps, the last 20 laps green, with only being a few tenths behind him, I think the advantage is going to go to the 85 car, who we've seen be a little bit quicker the longer run. So, Rhett needs to kind of be aware of that, and not use his stuff up, as you see Gregory Joyner to the inside, and we're going to be showing Bo Tiffany here through 1 and 2, who's still the leader. He's just waiting for that yellow flag to come out, hoping he'll be the leader. Just kind of wonder how much longer he can actually stay out for.
It's got to be close, and if this yellow flag does not come out, in fact, Bo Tiffany is coming in this time, it sounds like. So with this caution not coming out, the 2 drivers to keep an eye on, yes, we'll keep an eye on the top 3 with Joyner, Tucker, and Sagiped, but they're already ahead of the cut line. The 2 drivers to really keep an eye on at this point is going to be Devin Zimmerman in the 33, who's going to move up to 7th after this pit stop for Bo Tiffany, and Aaron Gerwitz in the 09, who's going to move up to 10th. Those are 2 drivers that are right around that cut line. Gurwitz, the bubble driver, coming in. Zimmerman in a great position despite being 9 points out coming in. But look at all the drivers that are outside of the top 15 in the playoffs. You have Lipicki in 15th. You have Taylor in 22nd and Patterson in 23rd. And then wherever Bo Tiffany's going to sort out. It's still very possible that Devin Zimmerman is alive and Aaron Gurwitz is hanging on to that final spot as well.
Yeah, Aaron Gurwitz right now is, only 4 spots behind him. Aaron's in 11th. Zimmerman's going to be up to 7th. So Zim's got to move up a few more spots, or Aaron Gerwitz would have to fall back a couple more spots But right now, we got a new leader, Brandon Domain, the 85 car, up front here, getting to the line. That's going to be 17 laps to go. Made the pass on the low side of Rhett Tucker, and he's starting to drive away a little bit, almost to a 4:10 lead. But third place right now, Jovi Saipet is putting down some flying laps compared to everyone else.
Yeah, Jovi has probably been the best in the long run. I think in the first half of these runs, Joyner probably has been the best car outside of that 8 of Dylan Patterson, who was way out there early on in this one before that penalty on pit road. So you're looking at two of the faster cars at different points in these runs. It's really going to be, can Soggyped make up 2.5 seconds or so in the last 12 laps or so, and that's really when the tide changed between these two.
Definitely, and it kind of makes you wonder, even though he's clipping away at it, does he have enough time? He's 2.3 seconds. He's about 2.5 tenths a lap faster. So at that rate, that's 10 to 12 laps. We've got 16 to go, coming to 15 to go. But catching a guy's one thing, Brandon, but getting around him and making a pass for the lead with what's at stake here, you just never know. You really don't. You can't really for sure say that Jovi would be able to get up there and zoom on by Gregory Joyner. So that's something we'll have to watch.
And also keep in mind, we did have that side-by-side racing for a couple of those 5 laps between Joyner and Tucker while Jovi was in clear track. So that does become a little bit of a factor as well, as we saw him about a tenth and a half faster this time around, as Ballard making another move here for 9th now, passing Stan Hausman. He did get around Aaron Gurwitz, who's fallen back to 11th, as Zimmerman and Scruggs side-by-side, and this is huge for Devin Zimmerman.
Definitely, making that pass on Scruggs moves him up to another spot. But if Scruggs is able to get back around him, that's one less point for Devin Zimmerman. That's going to help the 09 camp of Aaron Gerwitz. So, this is what Zim's got to do: stay in front of him, hold them off. We're 14 laps to the end of this thing, so you got to be aware of that for Devin Zimmerman. Knowing you're 9 points out of this thing, you cannot let guys just kind of get by you and drive away from you. You got to do everything you can to keep them in that rear view and not be looking at them getting smaller and smaller out the front windshield.
Another pass for position here. It's going to be the 89 of Brad Williams looking to make the move on 12th place Jamie Plourde, who's a driver we haven't seen much of in the second half of the season, so welcome back to Jamie. Remember racing him a couple times in the truck series where we dropped down. Good quality driver. Good to see him back here in the running in that 38.
Yeah, definitely having a good showing. I mean, it's been a while since we saw him. He's, up here battling for 12th place, so he's still got great speed, battling guys that have been here, obviously the entire season. So good to see someone come back and run with us, and hopefully, he'll be back next season. But here we go, Nick Goen, leading that second-tier playoff points right now. Kind of surprised, man, to see him back here. Mike looked picky in the wall. Going to get some damage there. That'll definitely hurt the car. He's going to, lose a couple spots probably, just with how, much slower that car is going to be on the longer run. And you see Daniel Ballard getting around Dustin Scruggs. So that means he's moving on up, and that means he could get by Zimmerman, and that would put Zimmerman, another spot behind. So this is something we have to watch here, with knowing how close Gurwitz and Zimmerman are. If Ballard gets around Zimmerman, that's another spot that helps out Aaron Gurwitz.
Yeah, I mean, if it finishes now, my table math is going to be that the top 5 that came into this race should still be in that position to come out of this one going to Texas, but it's still 12 laps to go, still a lot of action left here, and Devin Zimmerman, the biggest threat to make his way into the top 5 as we continue to stay green since the start of this race, is Daniel Ballard again making a charge through the field in the second half of a tire run.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's stayed out quite a bit longer than everyone, so where guys are really, really hurting on those older tires, he's still got a little bit of more feel in those tires, so that's why he's, able to put down faster lap times and catch these guys and really pull away from them. As I'm sure we'll see the run the 6 car is going to get here through the center off. He'll be able to pull away from Zimmerman down the back straightaway.
And I like that line that he's running, too. It's not really going to abuse the tires a whole lot. He's kind of starting in a little bit high, then drifting down as you get past the midway point in that turn where it just kind of takes a little bit of the pressure off. In 3 and 4, he's running a little bit lower than he is in 1 and 2, but he's being very gentle with those tires while still having good pace.
Definitely, and, makes you wonder what Daniel Ballard could do with the yellow flag. But we got 10 laps to go. We got a battle here for fourth shaping up. Danny Dow trying to catch Nathaniel Mon. That'll be a battle for fourth once the 21 car gets there. Danny Dow kind of had a little bit of a slower stop. Not sure if, had to really checked up earlier than he wanted to getting into pit lane or something like that. But he's kind of lost a little bit of time to these guys. So that's why you see him starting to run down Nathaniel Mon again and trying to make that pass to get back up to fourth.
And while these two are side-by-side racing for fourth, we also have Gregory Joyner side-by-side lapping a car, and that has really changed things as he's trying to get around Zachary Taylor. That's changed things with that interval, and look at how much Jovi Sagiped has closed the gap. That is now about 8/10 closer than the last time we checked in a couple laps ago.
Yeah, they've actually been battling out here side-by-side for quite a bit. Zach kind of ran them down on newer tires, and then Greg got back by him, and then Zach's been trying to pass him every, few laps here. So it's really hurt Gregory Joyner right now. And now that Zach's lapped again, that would mean Dylan Patterson would not get the lucky dog if a yellow flag came out. It would go to Zachary Taylor, who's obviously right behind the leader, getting a lap down. So, big playoff implications there. Dylan Patterson, 1 lap down. He's in 23rd place.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be for both Taylor and Patterson, running most of this race a lap down with a couple pit road errors in that first cycle of green flag stops, and they were just hoping for a caution the rest of the way, and it has still not come. We've gone 67 laps now, green flag racing, 8 to go, trying to go wire to wire under green.
Yeah, they're coming to 7 laps to go, but I tell you what, 7 laps here at Michigan International Speedway feels like an eternity. These lap times are about 41 seconds, so it's close to 6 minutes, 5 to 6 minutes, give or take. So it's a long ways around here, and you see Dustin Scruggs catching up to Devin Zimmerman again. So Devin Zimmerman kind of falling off, makes you wonder, knowing what was at stake early on in that tire run. Was he pushing really, really hard to get some spots? As you see, Gerwitz is now in 12th place, so Gurwitz is in 12th, Zimmerman's 8th. That's only 4 points. Zimmerman needs to get 5 laps somewhere. That's not going to get it done for the 33, and the 09 is kind of scathed by if this all holds where it's at right now.
Well, he's still got 1 car right behind that 09, and that's Jamie Plourde, who's also reeled in the 09 car of Gurwitz. So that's another position that could be up for grabs as we now go side-by-side, 2nd and 3rd, Jovi Sagiped and Rhett Tucker. This is the best sight for Greg Joyner right now. Seeing them go side-by-side, starting to build that gap back up a little bit.
Yeah, that's the best thing he wants to see in his mirror, but his mirror is full of the 14 car, Zachary Taylor, the first guy lapped down. But those two side-by-side, like you said, going to allow Greg to kind of pull away and make it that much harder for whichever of these two kind of clears one another, which looks like it's going to be that 3 car, Jovi Sagiped. It's just going to make it a little bit tougher to run down that 85, and the 14 is pushing the 85 down the straightaways. So this is, only what Gregory Joyner's going to want, a little bit more speed down the straightaways. It'll make it hard for that 3 car to catch, guys that are, pushing one another down these straightaways.
Yeah, the best case scenario at this point is that the 14 loses a little bit of pace compared to the 85 and falls back a bit, and that opens up the draft possibility more for Sagiped and Tucker behind than it does in that boost for Joyner in front of the 14 car. But as long as they stay positioned like this, Joyner is definitely in a great position.
Yeah, right now the lap times are pretty even between Gregory Joyner and Jovi Sagiped, so 4 laps is not going to cut it for Jovi. He's going to have to start chunking away at this thing, being 1.4, 1.5 seconds behind Greg. In 4 laps, that is a lot. You got to be clicking off, 3-4 tenths a lap, and I just don't see Jovi having that kind of pace right now, especially when the leader's kind of getting some shove down the straightaway. It's only going to help the 14 car, but Daniel Ballard, going to work his way up to 6 here, going to clear Greg Olenek down the straightaway, going to try to get to Danny Dow. Sorry, but I just don't think he's got enough time either, because he's almost a full second behind the 21 car who's in 1st place.
Yeah, that's more about 2 seconds even. But look at the top 4 playoff drivers in the field. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 6th. They're the top 4 drivers in the point standings coming into this race. So as long as they hold steady, they really don't have to do anything aggressive. I would just kind of coast the rest of the way if I'm them, knowing that you're in. Just don't put the car in any bad position and you're safe. But that real race is going to be where Devin Zimmerman is still in 8th. Jamie Plourde still is on the back bumper of Aaron Gurwitz. That the race for 12th. That would be a 5-point differential, which still would not be enough for Devin Zimmerman. But with 2.5 laps to go, anything can happen.
Definitely, and you don't want this thing to go to the white flag and then you get yourself into the outside wall, get a ton of damage, or get clipped by another car and it sends you spinning. Because if you lose a lot of spots, that could be the difference of making it into the next round. So Aaron Gerwitz, you got to know you are good on points right now. So I would let this 838 go because there's no one behind you for a long way. It's not worth battling him. But we got our leader right now, Gregory Joyner, going to be going down the back straightaway, heading into turn 3. He's going to have turns 3 and 4, and then he's only going to need to make one more circuit around this 2-mile track here at Michigan International Speedway as he heads off turn 4.
Yeah, he's gotten away from the 14 a little bit, which is helping out StockyPed get the draft just a little bit off of Taylor, but it is not enough time to make enough of that run here as we get the white flag. And Greg Joyner, we were saying earlier tonight, looking for that first win. Mr. Consistency with all those top 10s, 14 of them in 18 starts this season. Looks like today's the day for yet another first-time winner here this season.
Yeah, Gregory Joyner going to take that white flag, sponsored by Silverback Tax Solutions. Halfway down the back straightaway, he's going to head into turn 3. He's going to have one more set of turns before he's going to see that flagman start waving the checkered flag when he comes off turn 4. The 85 rocking the new paint scheme this week. Going to come down the front straightaway. Gregory Joyner is going to win the Great Lakes 150 here at Michigan International Speedway. Like you said, buddy, he's going to eclipse his first ever win here in Speed Racing Network. Heck of a drive by this guy, knowing what was at stake for him in the playoffs to come out here, win this thing, and get his first win before we head off, into Texas for the final race.
Yeah, top 4 in the points, all holding serve. Joyner, SoggyPed, Tucker, top 3. Ballard in 6th. Devin Zimmerman coming across the line in 8th, and Aaron Gurwitz is going to come across in 12th. So it looks like, and this is far from official, but it looks like the top 5 might hold position here going into Texas.
Definitely, and that's the thing. We were telling them what they needed to do, so it's just how the numbers come down to it at the end of the race. And unfortunately for some guys, they're going to be happy, and some other guys are going to be disappointed with the results. But you see here, Gregory Joyner burning it down here on the front stretch at Michigan International Speedway.
Those first donuts after a victory, that's the first win even, that's the sweetest one I can imagine, as he's going to be having a great celebration, knowing that not only did he get the checkered flag for the first time here at SRN, but he's also getting a shot for the championship next week, where we'll have our championship 5. Whoever finishes the best out of those 5 drivers amongst the field will be our season 1 in 2021 champion.
Definitely, and you see him burning it down there with his friend from back home, Nathaniel Mon. They're going to burn it down right underneath the flag, man. So what other way to celebrate your first ever win here in Speed Racing Network with your friend that you've grown up with your entire life? What a heck of a story we got here with these two burning it down.
Very cool moment, and we talk about the playoff drivers. That does not take anything away from Nathaniel Mann, who was a playoff driver himself, got eliminated in that first round, missing it out by 1 point. Great showing here tonight, though. 4th place, leader among the non-playoff drivers still remaining, and that's a nice touch here from Gregory Joyner, backing it into the victory circle on the front stretch at Michigan International Speedway.
Absolutely. We're going to run you down here through the final results here of tonight's Great Lakes 150. Our winner, obviously, that 85 car, going to be Gregory Joyner. Second place going to be Jovi SoggyPed out of Roel Smith Racing. Rhett Tucker, the 81 car out of Bronco Motorsports, finishing 3rd. Nathaniel Mon, Rhett Tucker out of Bronco, going to be finishing 4th. And rounding out the top 5, going to be Daniel Dow.
Yeah, Danny Dow, nice finish there. Daniel Bowdler in the 6th position. He's going to be moving on as well. Greg Olenek in 7th. Devin Zimmerman, the man that's got the best case to possibly move his way in. We got to see where the points do fall out officially in 8th. Dustin Scruggs, a nice run as he continues to go for the Tier 2 championship in 9th. Stan Hausman in 10th.
Yeah, and 11th place is going to be Brad Williams, another Bronco car. So they got, quite a bit. Got to imagine they'll lock up the team championship. But Rhett Tucker going to finish at home, third place. We're going to bring him up here into the booth, Rhett. It is Jake Rowell and Brandon Domain in the booth, man. You come home P3. You got yourself locked into the championship race, man. How you feeling knowing you got a shot at the championship at Texas next week?
I feel a lot better going into Texas than I did going into this track. So I got that going for me. I'll take a P3, man. I just had to lock myself into next week, and we got her done there.
Well, not only locking yourself in for next week, but I mean, Bronco was one good result away from looking like they were going to lock up that team championship. And obviously, with the showing that y'all had tonight, looks like you got the job done there as well. Still waiting on the official tally. But how about this team this season for y'all?
Awesome, man. Yeah, there's been all kinds of wild stuff going on within the old Bronco team. But I was just happy to be a part of it, man, and be brought on board. I made a lot of new friends. It's been a good experience, and glad we could at least get that team championship. Now we got to get the driver championship.
But you'll have a couple drivers that have a shot at that for sure next week. And what's this next week going to look like for you getting ready for Texas? Is it going to be kind of just doing the same thing as usual, or are you going to try to try anything new, or just a lot more time or anything like that?
A lot more practice. I already have a lot of time there, but that's the big show. So I'm going to be going at it hard.
Definitely, Rhett. Well, before we let you go, man, congrats on P3, getting yourself into the final round, the championship round at Texas. But before we get you back down to your team at Bronco, is there anyone you'd like to thank?
Yeah, you guys in the broadcast booth, man, doing a killer job every week. Everybody at SRN, all the admin, everybody that puts the whole deal together. Really looking forward to next season too. Shoney's, Sandwich Man Racing Sports Memorabilia. Dudes, everybody at Bronco, and Malware Bites. Thank you. See you next week.
Alrighty, well, congrats again, Brett. We'll get you back down to your team.
Thank you, guys.
Alrighty, Brandon. So that was P3. Now we're going to bring up second place. It's going to be Jovi Sagipet in that 3 car for Roel Smith Racing. These two guys, finishing third and second. That's the only thing we've seen really all season long. But Jovi, it's Jake Rowell and Brandon Domain up here in the SRM booth. I know you're probably a little upset you didn't get the win, man. But how do you feel knowing you got yourself a second place here tonight? Now you've got a shot at $500 at Texas Motor Speedway.
Oh, it's game on now. I put 0 laps into this race, but next week I am definitely going to put in way more practice.
Yeah, man. You definitely didn't show up to practice, and I was a little worried, something crazy was going to happen to you here tonight at Michigan International Speedway, but you proved me wrong. What were you kind of feeling out there on the track? Obviously, this thing goes from flag to flag, green flag, no yellows or anything like that. Were you just kind of trying to save a little bit earlier on to be able to be fast? What was going through your head as you saw this race, playing out to be, 75 laps under green flag?
That first green flag run, I just cooked my tires and I had nothing for them. And then after that, I just started backing up my corners and I found something. And that last run, if I just had some drafting help, I think I would have caught them quicker. But it is what it is. I'll take the P2.
Yeah, I mean, that P2, it seems like that's just becoming a common occurrence that we start talking to you. I mean, 6 playoff races, you've got 6 top 4 finishes, 5 of them first or second now. This run is just absolutely incredible, and just one race left to keep that going, and it might lead to that title for you.
Yeah, I think hopefully this will be the P1 that I've been wanting. It's been a couple weeks since I won, but feels good to have momentum going into the championship race, the confidence that I need. It should be fun.
Definitely. Well, Jovi, heck of a drive tonight coming home P2. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to thank here tonight?
Thank you, boys at RSR. Shout out to Troy, Dustin. They were here with me, even though Ryan and Josh couldn't be here. I wish they was, but shout out to our sponsors, Off Apex Designs, and shout out to you and Brian for running the team, and shout out to all the sponsors for Speed Racing Network, making us race each week.
All right, buddy. Well, we appreciate that here in the SRM booth. So We'll get you back down to the Roel Smith Racing channel. Congrats on P2. Enjoy it, and we'll see you next week here at Texas Motor Speedway.
Thanks, brother. Have a good night.
Alrighty, Brandon. So that means we got one guy left to interview here. I got to imagine he's going to be pretty amped up after getting his first ever win here in Speed Racing Network. Gregory Joyner. It is Jake Roel and Brandon Domain up here in the SRM booth, buddy. How you feeling after getting your first win?
A sigh of relief. The monkey is off the back. Finally, I did it. Race played out in my favor. Finally, I've had so many races this year where I needed it to stay green, being that I'm normally better on a long run. So just glad that one stayed green the whole time. I was just waiting for a yellow to come out the whole race, but it played out my way finally.
Yeah, I mean, you've been just a picture of consistency all season long. So many top tens leading the category there, and to finally get it here in victory lane in a cutoff race, absolutely clutch performance there. And what was the difference this week? I mean, you were out front pretty comfortably for a good run there at the end, but you were one of the faster cars pretty much all night as well.
Yeah, first off, hats off to Jake, Scott Healy, Nick Goen, and Nathaniel Mon. All them guys, I really appreciate them letting me practice with them. I learned a lot. I always learn a lot from them guys, so you can thank them, because that's where all the speed comes from, and is learning from those top tier drivers.
Yeah, we've seen it. The speed has been there. Last week, obviously, after Thursday night's race at Charlotte Motor Speedway, you caught the wall, which kind of gave away the win. You were up front leading that thing. It felt like you were never going to get it. What does this do for you, knowing you got your first win the week before the championship race heading into Texas next week?
It's a big relief, just because, winning your first race in a league is not easy, especially in SRN. There's a lot of competitive drivers in this league, a lot of talented drivers. So just winning this weekend gives me a lot of momentum going into next week. And I know Jovi and Rhett, Daniel Ballard, and I'm not sure who else has got in, but I'm sure whoever it is, it's going to be tough to beat them. So, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm already nervous for it. So we're going to hit the track at Texas and get started on practice.
Definitely. Well, before we let you go, Greg, I know you'll probably have some whiskey glasses, but, is there anyone you'd like to thank here tonight?
Yeah, all you guys at SRN, everybody that does the broadcast, you guys do a fantastic job as always. And all my family and friends and my girlfriend that watch every week, they tune in and watch me finish in the top 10 and never win. Well, you finally got one, so thanks to all of them. And I'm going to go have me a celebratory shot here and head to bed.
All right, buddy. Well, we'll get you back down to the race channel you were in. Enjoy it. Congrats on your first ever win here in Speed Racing Network. We'll see if you can't go next week, go back-to-back, and possibly win that $500 that's up for grabs.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
I'll tell you what, I've had a lot of good shots of whiskey. That's going to be a pretty sweet one there for Greg Joyner after that first win. And now we get to take a look at those 5 drivers that will be advancing, and it is the same 5 that were above the cut line entering this race. So it's going to be Jovi Sogiped, Daniel Bowdler, Rhett Tucker, Gregory Joyner, and Aaron Gurwitz making their way to Texas for that shot at the title and the $500 first place prize.
Definitely. It's this is a very, very strong 5. Jovi Sogiped, Daniel Bowdler, Rhett Tucker, they've got quite a bit of wins on the season. They've had speed all season long. Gregory Joyner, who we just saw win tonight, proves he can win in this league. Then you got a guy that Aaron Gerwitz, gonna be the underdog going into this thing, but if Texas has those long green flag runs, very similar to last week at Charlotte Motor Speedway, where we saw Aaron Gerwitz have a really, really strong showcase at Charlotte. So this final 5 is loaded with talent. There's guys that have won more than others, but that doesn't mean everything. There can be wins that are kind of more luck of the draw, of just kind of right place at the right time. And you don't even have to go out here and win this thing. That's the thing about it. The guy that could win the championship could finish third and win it all, because he's the first, finishing driver out of these top 5 playoff drivers. So, I'm really, really looking forward to not only the Xfinity series, but obviously in the truck series as well. And then we'll see who the final 5 are, Sunday night in the Cup series as well.
Yeah, and looking at these five, I mean, you've got three guys that have shown extreme speed all year, a threat to win every race. Greg Joyner being consistently in the top 10, obviously showing he can get the win as well. And you mentioned it earlier with Aaron Gurwitz having that up and down kind of playoff. Well, he was outside of the top 10 again. That might be good for another top 5 next week if that trend continues. So we got a great race lined up at Texas.
Definitely, and it's going to be awesome. You can check out the championship race for the Xfinity Series. It's going to be the big money Texas 160 at Texas Motor Speedway. You can check that out next Thursday, June 10th at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If it's anything like this race, I mean, it could be, it could be a wild card. You just never know if it goes green all the way like we saw tonight. There could be, quite a few accidents. That type of track kind of, creates some opportunity for things like that. So you just never know heading into the final race of the year, especially at Texas Motor Speedway.
Yeah, that big Texas shootout, you never know what you get there at Texas Motor Speedway, and that's kind of what that track's been built upon for the last couple decades, really, where it's just been kind of in grooves where every now and then you get a run where it's wide open racing, and every now and then you get some of those wreck fests. So who knows what we're going to see, and who knows what we're going to see on Sunday as well when we get ready for the Great Lakes 200, where you and 9 others have a shot there to advance to Texas as well for the final 5 of the Cup Series.
Yeah, looking forward to it. The home track for my team. So hopefully we park another RSR car in victory lane. That'd be 4 races in a row. But I tell you what, this place in the Cup car, it is absolutely wild. It's kind of like the trucks with how the draft kind of, keeps guys with you, even though you might be a little bit faster. They just get such a pull down the straightaways. It kind of, it keeps them in touch with you. So it is going to be absolutely awesome, especially when you throw in, obviously, it's the cutoff race like we saw tonight and last night. So there's going to be drama all over it. We're going to be going 100 laps on Sunday night. It's going to be June 6th. Check it out, 8:30 p.m. Central, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll see who the final 5 are going to be in the Speed Racing Network Cup Series championship race. So, it's going to be, I know you'll be calling it, so it's going to be a really, really good time for you, Brandon.
I hope it's as good as this race tonight. Yeah, we didn't have a whole lot. We didn't have any caution, so we didn't have any of those restarts and crazy moments like that, but we saw good, hard racing, good, clean racing all night. Saw a lot of good passes, 3 wide, 4 wide racing even at one point. So hopefully we see that again here on Sunday with the big show and everything on the line going for that final race.
Absolutely. And, from all of us here at Speed Racing Network to all of you fans watching, we appreciate you coming out here tonight to Michigan, and I hope you enjoyed the race. And as always, go faster.